Okay, thanks, mate.
Good, buddy.
Okay.
Thanks very much for your call. Here on the Garden Clinic, it's time to have a talk to the doc because this week the doc from Neutrog is talking about a group of plants that many of us have, but we don't realise just how very special they are. And these are, we often talk about them as ferns and palms and orchids and the like. These are epiphytes. Good evening and good morning and g'day. How are you, Doc?
Yeah, hi, Graham. Yes, very well, thanks. Yeah, I guess, epiphytes really make up a really large portion of plants that many people have, and they don't even realise it. I mean, as you mentioned, many of the ferns, all the bromeliads, some of the cacti, the ferns, and those wonderful and weird air plants, tillandsias that are so popular at the moment. So the interesting thing about epiphytes is that they generally grow in areas of high moisture or rainfall. So the area around Sydney and up the coast is an ideal place to grow these plants. So, when you have a look at many of them, they grow in the tree canopies or on the trees, and all of those are generally epiphytes. There's a few parasitic plants, but epiphytes, unlike the parasitic plants, don't take any nutrients from the trees or other plants they grow on, and by their very nature, they really don't grow in what we consider soil. So they grow more or less on mulch and leaf litter. So, people that grow things like Staghorns and Elkhorns would be very familiar with this idea, obviously.
Yeah, we were talking about when I was in South America a couple of years ago, and the orchids in the street trees, and the orchids were just dripping down, epiphytes looking spectacular. So this is a true idea, and of course, in order to grow many of these plants successfully, you need a medium, I guess, which is very, very coarse and free draining.
Exactly, but these types of media obviously present their own set of problems. They don't hold water for that matter, or nutrients either. So now water's less of an issue with many of these epiphytic plants because they've developed, ability to take up water by their leaves or roots, and still others such as the bromeliads literally store water in those little wells that people would be familiar with. But nevertheless, these plants are dependent on high levels of humidity and a rapid biological breakdown of organic matter. So obviously, growing them in your garden, it makes it a little bit hard to replicate that nutrient turnover you see in nature. But there is obviously a solution to that, and you can stimulate the biology in your planting material and still feed these plants.
Even if they're growing in the crook of a tree or a little branch, I can see what's going on in regards to the nutrient turnover and the feeding. I see where you're heading.
Yeah, I expect nothing less from you, Graham. In order to break down that organic material, you need those little microbes, and GOGO juice is just the ticket. It's virtually designed to do just that job, to break down that organic material and release the nutrients within. So you can simply dilute the GOGO juice, pour it into your ferns, your orchids, bromeliads, or even spray the plants, such as those air plants. So GOGO juice really contains sufficient nutrients for those tillandsias, as they really survive virtually on the dust and the nutrients within it. So, but if you want to give them epiphytes a real boost, then you can't go by strike back for orchids. It's a liquid, so it won't block the free draining media, and especially designed for orchids, but it's suitable for all epiphytic plants. Now, my dad, he's a mad cacti man, and he's been using strike back for orchids for a number of years on his epiphytic cacti, those Christmas cacti and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And, he loves the plants, he loves the stuff, and the plants love the stuff as well, so it's the way to go.
Yeah, epiphytes, well, they're certainly a very popular group. Honestly, those the ripsalis and what have you, those dripping cactus, it's often hard to feed them, but you can just spray them with the strike back for orchids, the liquid, and for some of those other plants we're talking about, the GOGO juice just helps the breakdown to get the nutrients happen. And, of course, you can get all the benefit from a gentle feed and a stimulation of nutrients, and you get that turnover. So the use of the strike back for orchids and the GOGO juice is ideal for all these plants that we are increasingly growing, including, of course, the stags and elks. You'll find them at Bunnings. They've got a whole range of them there, and other hardware outlets, and, of course, all good garden centres. Yui, always good to chat. Thank you, mate. Take care.
No problem. Same to you, Graham. Have a fantastic week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Traffic.